Thank you for joining us for Precision Medicine Awareness Month. And we have Ashley and Natalie back with us today from the Terry Fox Research Institute Discovery Health and Digital Platform. And our topic today is going to be collaboration and the need for it. And I mean, as a patient advocate, I obviously feel like we need to have more collaborations. And I'm glad to see that the patients are the first person on this slide. Um, it's the reason why I called the Cancer Collaborative, but I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about it. So I will hand it over to you.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. And it's great to be able to be back and to talk about the digital health and discovery platform. And what we had shared in our previous conversation was more about the technology, but this gives us an opportunity to talk about our network and those that are involved in helping to realize our vision and what brings us together and what matters most. And I think the call out to our patient partners as our first group that is part of our collaboration is a really important one. These are patient partners who share their data so that it can be used to help understand what our patient needs and requirements are and how we can create novel solutions that support precision medicine. But we also have patient partners that are involved with helping to run our initiative. And I think that there's multiple layers and interaction points that are really key and important to helping us achieve our goals. We also have researchers who are involved within our network that help expand the research into reality. This builds a lot of capacity through collaboration because we're able to help support the research component and how it could have impact in a clinical setting. We also, as part of our collaboration, have data experts. And so these are groups of stakeholders that build and test our systems and the tools, and they help to bridge gaps in healthcare. There's been a lot of conversation around data standards, for example, and our data experts that have been collaborating through this initiative have really highlighted our need to look at the gaps that exist and how we can better use data. And Ashley will talk a little bit more about that too when we talk about some of our key mechanisms that are supported through collaboration. We also have clinicians and caregivers, and this is also another vitally important stakeholder group that comes together to help us to support ways that we can leverage precision medicine throughout patient journeys. There are also individuals that help us give insights into how we can adjust workflows, for example, or clinical care flows, and how information can be used to help enhance that. And working all collaboratively is the goal in this network ecosystem. And I think your point, Sabrina, about making sure that we're facilitating and supporting collaboration throughout is extremely important. And it's a value that we also have and share, and that we're trying our best to also support in the mechanisms that we have within our initiative. So on the next slide, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into some of the collaborations around now innovation. So if we're talking about transitioning between collaboration from stakeholder groups to now looking at innovation within precision medicine, on the screen we show a visual about how technology plays a role within that innovation ecosystem. And we have push and pull. So we have the pull from groups that are looking to support the development of treatment mechanisms. We have, for example, government funders that are looking to help support innovations within healthcare. And we call this sort of the demand side of the innovation piece. But then we also have the push side. So here's where we have clinicians and researchers, individuals working in AI space, and they're coming up with ways that we can support the development of innovations and technology and how we're able to kind of push in some changes and disruptions within the system that can help enable precision medicine. And then when we look at the broader ecosystem, we see we have data and experts and tools. We also have funding through grants, and we have platforms and technologies such as the DHDP that help bring together these groups on the innovation side. And so here's where we kind of want to bring the layers of collaboration together and bridge these systems that are happening, because we think that that's a key way to move forward with supporting innovation in and incubating ideas and having them validated and tested, and so that they can be used in clinical settings. So on the next slide, what we wanted to show, and there's a few clicks here, around what our current innovation mini ecosystem looks like. So we have, as what we talked about, our SIF network. So this is our government partners. So this is the Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada. And we also have within that box, we have representation from the other funded networks that are in this place that are working within medical science and research and collaboration. And so this is one of the push elements here, where we're seeing funding through grants and availability of the development of initiatives like the DHDP that help support collaboration. We also have intersections with our technical partners. And so these are where groups that are working to help in data discovery or federated learning or AI applications are all working together to bring their solutions to make sure that there's interoperability or ways that things can be connected so that we can have a technical solution to enable data sharing. We also, in the last box, have several different industry collaborators and data providers. And you'll see this is just a small snapshot of some of the individuals involved. There are many more that are supporting from a data perspective, that are being able to say, we have data resources and we have ways that we want to share our information, or we know that we have gaps where we have only a certain number of patient partners and we want to enhance treatments in this space, and we want to be able to look more broadly across the country. And so this is the way that our industry collaborations and our data providers work together. So on the screen, we see a connection all across, and our role in as connectors in this is to enable and facilitate and support the dialogue, support the development of technology, to support this collaboration. And we take this as a really clear mandate of our work, and a very important one as we move forward with our initiative. So the last piece I'll say is that one of the key mechanisms that we have in place, and one that we've been moving forward with, is expanding our membership as our initiative. So as we talked about in our first presentation, we have a Made in Canada platform, and the goal of that platform is to connect patients, clinicians, data scientists, industry partners, researchers, not-for-profits from coast to coast. And all of those individuals are able to have a membership within the DHDP. We're also looking to expand to those that are interested in supporting the collaboration. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a platform user in this space. If you're involved in the ecosystem, we invite the conversation and bring people together. One point of information that I want to emphasize is that a lot of the work that Ashley and I are talking about today, and that we had talked about previously, is a result of collaboration through our network members. We have individuals that have come together in working groups and committees. They have proposed great ideas. They've brought together an energy and an enthusiasm to move forward with a development of a technology, but then also understanding of how we could use this in the system and what are different ways we can look at solving problems. And this has been truly a great experience to be working with these individuals and these collaborators. And we're very appreciative of their efforts and their ideas and their enthusiasm, because essentially we know that it's going to help move forward our project. So I'll pass it off to Ashley now, and she's going to talk about more of a specific example of the collaboration and how it can help support dialogue across systems that are being developed. Go ahead, Ashley.
Thanks, Natalie. And just to add to your previous point, I think something very special about the DHDP is the previous work that we've been leveraging, but also just being able to pave a path forward through these collaborations. And we're not restricted to a certain network. We're open to collaborations at a national scale, a global scale across Canada. And that's really how we foster all these different experts to inform best practices and decisions being made for the DHDP. So I'll get a little bit more granular with how the DHDP contributes to collaborative precision medicine by enabling interoperability. But before going a little bit deeper into that, I know that interoperability may be a new word that you're hearing, or you may also hear it as a common buzzword in the digital health space, though I'll give a quick overview on what interoperability is. So according to IBM, interoperability in healthcare refers to timely and secure access, integration, and use of electronic health data so it can be used to optimize health outcomes for individuals and populations. So as seen in the image, this means seamless sharing of data through a patient's journey from their data that includes diagnosis, treatment, medications, and so forth. But this data is found at different sources or different institutions as shown in the image. Now, if it is your first time hearing about interoperability, this might sound synonymous with data exchange, but it's not. You can think of data exchange as someone emailing themselves a PDF so they can access it on their laptop rather than their phone, whereas Apple's AirDrop capability would be more of an example of interoperability because the iPhone and the Mac have systems that can talk with one another and enable the seamless data sharing. Similarly, if a patient is automatically notified to log in through their portal to see their lab results from their last visit, rather than the laboratory clinic staff taking an extra step to email or fax the results, then I would also consider this interoperability between the patient portal and the electronic medical record system or the electronic health record system. And next slide, please. So this is all important because interoperability is critical for collaborative precision medicine. By following the patient through their journey and knowing their history, that can be life-saving at the point of care. And it can also allow us to scale access to data so that researchers, clinicians, data scientists can all leverage the big data and collaborate on research, development, and innovation for precision medicine technologies that ultimately improve outcomes for a specific cohort of patients, or there's also a term called public precision medicine, but I won't be getting into any of that today. So overall, the rich and diverse, just to the previous slide, Shannon. So overall, the rich and diverse patient data is powerful, and when the right information is provided to decision makers at the right time, this can prevent adverse events. An example I've put here is a clinician prescribes an alternative treatment but the patient has an allergy listed on the file from a documentation from appointments at another institute. So in this scenario, the patient may have not documented anywhere to the clinician prescribing the treatment that they have this allergy, but because it's already documented on another system that talked with this system, the clinician knows they will prescribe an alternative treatment so the patient doesn't have an allergic reaction. In this case, the systems were talking and the clinician was able to have the right information at the right time and prevent this adverse event. This being said, one of the greatest challenges with interoperability is moving away from the technology that creates the data silos and towards technology that is designed with a privacy-first interoperability approach that supports the diverse sharing of data. So I've seen firsthand how hospital networks cannot share data despite using the same systems or being within the same hospital network under the same organization. And it's not to say that this technology is easy to develop because teams have been working on it for years and years and years, such as the HL7 fire standard, but it's a critical technology that we need in today's day and age because of big data and the power it has for collaborative research and discovery within precision medicine. Unfortunately, I can personally say that there's a great deal of hype on AI, but perhaps maybe there needs to be more focus on innovative technologies that allow us to foster big data for the development of powerful AI models. Now, next slide, please. Thanks, Shannon. And thankfully, we don't need to develop this technology from scratch. It would take DHDP a very, very long time to do that if that was the case. Thankfully, we have industry standards and best practices, so we don't need to start from scratch. And we're able to unpack all the complexities that come with sharing of diverse data among different digital health systems by using the industry standards. OMOP, which stands for Observational Medical Outcomes Partnership, is a rather popular common data model. And we've been working closely with our data experts who have researched and explored OMOP, such as Tran Truong, the Director of Data and Technology at UHN, in the Cancer Digital Intelligence Division. And so we've been looking into OMOP to better understand how it enables interoperability, meaning how it organizes and standards data across different data sources so systems can talk, how it standardizes vocabularies across clinical domains, such as the disease codes, and how it preserves source data, including the source vocabulary codes, but also adds the new codes to foster the network that allows for collaborative research. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so now I'll be shifting away from this crash course on interoperability to why interoperability is important for precision medicine. Next slide. And to sum it up, we live in a day and age where health data is rapidly harvested among various digital systems. Along with the rapid boom of big data comes advances to AI. And along with advances to AI comes the need to trust in its use and protect personal data. Overall, as AI continues to advance within healthcare, a key element to success is the enabling of a mechanism to seamlessly and responsibly share the data, which in this presentation is the DHDP that enables this mechanism. Next slide, please. And like I mentioned before, it's not a quick fix. There are challenges with legacy systems creating fragmented systems and data silos, the lack of user-friendly technology and training causing misuse of systems and poor quality of data harvested in the systems. And there also the fear of breaching a patient's privacy causing liability concerns for sharing of data. These are just a few that came to the top of my head, but they are hurdles that need to be jumped over for the success of data sharing for collaborations. Now, to get a little bit more in detail for the DHDP approach, I'll go over how DHDP collaborates together to have these discussions on interoperability and standards for big data. So our DHDP technology working group has been heavily focused on the technological approach that drives the development of our privacy-first data sharing platform by leveraging data discovery, sharing, and analytics functionalities from our technical partners. And we have also launched our DHDP Data Committee, which includes subject matter experts from leading institutions like UHN, Vector Institute, and OICR, to inform the selection of a DHDP data model, standards, and the acquisition approach, which will all support the development of data provider guidelines. This way, we can equip the data providers with the knowledge and resources that guide the process for them to share high-quality data through the DHDP. Together, the DHDP Technology Working Group, the Data Committee, along with other committees or expertise within DHDP's network, such as our partnerships with Canada's 3 national AI institutes, will address each piece of this data governance wheel shown on the right side. Now, this only covers the tip of the iceberg for how a DHDP fosters collaboration, but hopefully that helped sum things up, and now I'll pass it over back to you, Natalie.
Thanks so much, Ashley. And I think in what we've heard today throughout the slides is the connection between people, processes, and technology. And we really see that being a key components to enable collaboration, very vital. And in fact, when you look at these initiatives like the DHDP and others that are working in a similar space, they are bringing together these pieces. And I think that there's been a lot of transformation and movement in supporting collaboration, but also that there's room to continue to do more. And so we'll leave you with an ending kind of thought around that in relationship to the DHDP. So on the next slide, what we have is our wheel. And so this is also where we kind of look at how collaboration in this space can help inform and move forward. So there, within the platform itself, we have discovery of data, access and sharing, scaling and innovation, and realizing outcomes. So that's very much the technical wheel. But we also see within that circle, when we have individuals or stakeholders and people that are involved in the process, the ones that I identified in the groups in the beginning of our conversation today, our patient partners, our caregivers, our clinicians, our researchers, our data scientists, that helps in our discovery phase. And those groups of stakeholders help to inform all of the components around this wheel. And that's been really, truly, as I mentioned earlier, a key part about the DHDP and the way that we've been working to support the network. And it's a call to also, for those that are interested in participating, to come and join the conversation and to also help us move forward with identifying gaps and maybe a different process or different people to engage in that process so that we can help in this collaborative ecosystem. Well, thank you so much for listening to our presentation today and our approaches to collaboration and putting out the call to support ongoing collaboration in this space.
So the last comment you just made about identifying gaps, I feel is really important, because if you don't have the right people in the room, then you can't understand what's actually missing from the conversation. So really important that you brought that up. And I don't know if you want to add something to it, but I have so many questions I wanted to ask. But
for sure. I would say that one question that we usually bring to the table when we are talking with our stakeholders is who's missing? Yeah. Who's missing from this conversation? And we ask everybody to think about, is there somebody else that should be engaged? Because a lot of the times we don't know what's missing, or every stakeholder is coming with their own priorities, and which is totally great and it's understandable, but we have to make sure that we ask that question every time. Who's missing? Yeah.
I'll just add a quick point, because we recently were talking about, well, actually the Chief Communication Officer of DHDP was describing how we are all agents of change. And so I think Natalie and I, the position that we're in, very focused on the timeline and the activities that take place to lead up to milestones. We play a big role in identifying what those gaps are and mapping out our stakeholders and seeing how we can identify who is relevant for the table to bring them into the conversation, and even just try to find their email to reach out and set up that conversation.
I think one of the things that we often forget, and maybe not you because you're much more involved in it, but myself as an advocate, and I know I've had conversations as well where I think we were talking about clinical trials, we often forget the technological companies. And so they're not part of the discussion right from the start, but they're the ones who are building either the platforms or the models or whatever it is that's being built, it's being built with them. And so when we get to them at the end, much like a clinical trial, when you're not building it with the patient and you're going, you're getting to the end point and it's like, wow, this was a total waste of time. So I'm glad to see that you have the people, the processes, and the technology.
Absolutely. And I think you're right about that, about engaging people along the way. One of our approaches too is trying to share, it's a knowledge translation activity, actually. You're trying to share information all along. And it might be that a stakeholder group isn't ready to participate at a certain time just because of where they are in the process, and that's okay, as long as you're sharing updates and information. And so there's a lot of work that's done with the DHDP team, and Shannon and Ashley are very active in making sure that we're documenting. So we're identifying key points from conversations, and we're starting to socialize this with all of the stakeholders. And it does take a lot of time for sure, but it's a worthwhile investment, even if they're not being engaged at that moment, to help perhaps inform something later down the line.
Yeah, and just to add one more point there too, I think we see that sometimes there is a better time to engage in conversations related to data or the technology or the policy frameworks surrounding it. And we are navigating when is the best time to have those conversations so that there is a sequence to the activities rather than sort of this very innovative mindset where you just want to finish everything all at once, but you also have to balance out your resources and the timeline and figure out a plan that just makes sense to everyone or to the experts at least.
I mean, I wish I had more time for us to keep having more, to keep asking questions, but I'm just going to ask one last one. You talked about membership, and just to explain to us what membership looks like.
So absolutely, for the DHDP. Yeah, so I will put a plug in, and we're happy to share, the links to the website, because we have a mechanism to connect with us through our website and an online membership portal, essentially. But what membership means is involvement in interaction with the digital health and discovery platform. And it can be several different types of ways that you're interacting. Maybe you're an individual that wants to participate in the working groups and the committees and helping to inform discussions. So that's one way. Maybe you're an individual that has data that you want to contribute to the platform. That's another way that you can also engage with the DHDP. Maybe you're a data user and you have an algorithm, you have a research component you want to validate, and you want to engage within the data that exists within the platform. You can do that as well. Maybe you're two of those three groups that I just talked about. And maybe you're involved in more understanding AI applications in healthcare and you want to engage in the conversation. So we're not restrictive in the membership form, for example, that you have to be a certain criteria or category, and your relationship within the initiative can evolve over time as well. So we're quite flexible, and that's purposely done so that we can drive connection with individuals working in this space. I think we've been very fortunate with all those that we've connected with. They've been also sort of connectors to others, and so they'll bring people into the conversation. And so that's the other part too that we encourage and welcome, and we're happy to always engage with anybody that's interested in learning more in this space, to learn more about the platform, or just to even have a conversation about the role of the platform within precision medicine. We welcome that opportunity all the time.
Wonderful. I feel like I need to have you both back for the podcast so we can have a longer conversation about everything we talked about. I didn't ask any questions about interoperability, but I think we could save that for another time. Thank you so much for coming back and for having this discussion with us. And I'm really looking forward to having more conversations with both of you and with the DHDP.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Sabrina, and we're happy to have those conversations. So we look forward to it.
Yeah, I think I will have you both back on for the podcast.
Awesome. That would be great. Yeah.
Thank you, Sabrina.